and welcome to the FRL coverage of the Simnet Super Sprint Sunday. It's season 19, round 5 at Kyalami. You'll notice a very different voice leading the commentators. It's myself, Jack Prentice, flying solo for today with the main commentator, Greg Wood, on a family commitment, which means he cannot be in the box. So for the next nearly 2 hours, you guys have got just me for company, and what an evening it promises to be. We've got 3 classes, Pro, Silver and Am, all duking it out on the same track for 2 races. The 20-minute sprint race to begin, which we can see in this particular lobby, and then the reverse grid, fully reverse grid race for 40 minutes. A little bit later on this afternoon in the second lobby. Now, to qualify for the fully reverse grid race, you have to have completed at least 75% of the distance of the winner from race 1. So if your race is ruined early on, there is an incentive, let's say, for you to carry on, because not only will you have an advantage going into race 2, but you can still get valuable data for the first race. I'm going to take you through now the standings for the AM category. So AM is going to be in red, as you can see on there, the numbers in red on the left hand side. Silver will be in the darker grey, and in the light silver grey will be the Pro class. So let's take you through the standings as we have them now. We're going to start from the AM class, and it is in first place. You can see Alexander Kalugin. Let's go straight to him. He's in the garage, car number 334 in the Porsche with 54 points, 2 points ahead of Jordan Marshall in second place. The improving Frenchman has put together a really consistent season so far. A bit of a beneficiary of a rule change since last week, which we'll tell you more about a little bit later on. In third place, you've got JB Thacker in the Ferrari 296. He will be he's just 6 points off of second place and 8 off of Alexander Kalugin in first. Fourth is Michel Coppens, the Dutchman, who's started to improve as the weeks have gone on. Had a bit of a blip last time out in Bathurst, but he is on 42 points, just 4 points off of the top 3. He's just ahead of Danny Felix in the McLaren Evo, got number 985, who's missed a couple of rounds, but with the drop scores, which again we'll expand upon a little bit later on, is still in it. He's 1 point behind Michel Coppens. Trevor Mendez is in 6th on 40 points in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, car number 76, with Gav Cherry Moore in 7th place. We haven't seen him for a couple of rounds now, so and it looks like he's going to be missing today, so you would expect that he will continue to drop down the order. In 8th place, it's Paul Trotman in the Lexus, car number 246. It's been consistent this season, even if he's had a little bit of bad luck in the second races often. He's just ahead of Daniel Duda, who on 37 points is level with Paul Trotman, but has had a disqualified or did not start penalty to be added to his particular position, which is why he's down there. David Fast is in 10th in car number 187, the McLaren 720 SGT3 Evo. He's also on 34 points, also with a DNS penalty from the championship. Darren Mark Davies is in 11th place, the commentary OG in car 27 in the Ford Mustang GT3. He's just ahead of Dale Kelleher, who's been a magnet for bad luck this season in the 89 Ferrari on 28 points. 13th and second last is Piotr Spazniak, the Ferrari, who has had a difficult start to the season, difficult start to his FRL campaign, it must be said. Missed out last week on 28 points. He does not look like he's returned today. With Marnix Herc, the Dutchman, in the BMW M4 in car number 11, rounding out the rear on minus 30 points. Would expect him to get off the starting grid today, as he has turned up and he does look relatively quick. In silver, as we go through qualifying, in silver, we have in the lead Daniel Starkelov in the Ferrari. He's, with the 2 drop scores, is top on 49 points. He's 4 points clear of Chris Getman, one of the admins who has done so much to put this championship together. Car number 79, the Porsche, is on 45 points. He's 1 point clear of Brooklyn Donklin in the 1774 Mustang, car number 177 on 44 points. He himself is a point clear of Lee Colpitts in the 94 BMW M4 GT3 on 43 points, level with Renard Serfontein, one of the home drivers for the Kyalami round that we're at now. Renard Serfontein in the 215 Ferrari. It's just 2 points clear of Nikita Chekmazov, the Serbian, who has missed the last couple of races, on 41 points. Alexei Yablonski is 7th in the McLaren, 78. Showed a lot more pace than that, but has often been in the wrong place at the wrong time, coming up to 39. And he's level with Luke Richings. Car 104, the McLaren 720 SGT3 Evo on 39 points. Michel van der Waal in the 71 McLaren 720 SGT3 is currently in 9th. He's a point behind Luke Richings, with Marco Lido in the Ferrari car number 68 in 10th on 37 points. They're 5 points clear of Marcelin Bruschtulli in 11th in the 2 Porsche 922, with Johnny Sharp in 12th, having missed a couple of rounds. Car number 69. Serafino Gabino is in 13th on car number 19, and he is just ahead of Maximilian Borneveg. We'll quickly run you through the pros as we follow Jordan Marshall on his lap. He's just starting his lap now as he goes into turn number 4-5 at Barbecue through the first complex. So we've got in pro, it's Jared Vermeulen who's currently leading. He's on 52 points, car number 1, Ferrari 296. It's an ominous number, isn't it, for the rest of the field? He's 2 points clear of Fabio Travaglioli, also in a Ferrari 296 on 50 points, and they are a point further clear of Adam Sharp in the McLaren, car number 37. Bit of an outlier here today, as he appears to be the one car that can crack the Ferrari stronghold. Car number 37 on 49 points. They're 4 points clear of Jay Wazza, the Irishman in the Bentley as ever, who has had a bit of bad luck last week, but that should hopefully be ironed out by the dropped scores. Gordon Brown is 5th in his debut, or certainly his return for a long, long time in the Pro class. Car number 134 in the Lamborghini Huracan. He is on 41 points, so 4 points behind Wazza. Francois de Bont in the BMW car 999 in the BMW M4 GT3. He's currently 6th on 39 points. He's 2 points clear of Morgan Grace in the 14 Porsche 992, with Andrew Eden in car 884, currently leading the Aston Martin charge in 8th place. They're just ahead of Futa Hymans, who has had a difficult season, quick but not always consistent in the Ferrari car 717. Jordan Marshall crosses the line to go 2nd place after Jared Vermeulen, set to 1 minute 40.7. You would expect that that will be one of the times to beat from the home South African hero. Mark Davies and Daniel Kazakevich have also set a time, as we will return back to the championship standards very shortly. Now, speaking to who else could we see crossing the line? I think we've got Chris Gebman, who has spun, but he was on an outlap, so he will be fine. It's a one-shot qualifying session here today, which means that as soon as you cross your line to start your flying lap, you're committed, you're in, you're stuck. As we follow now, this is Renat Serfontaine, I think, going through the final corner, and he's currently 21st in Ferrari with his one shot, and he remains 21st because he's just setting in a lap. Okay, so we're going to follow this a little bit later on. Futa Hymans is currently 9th, car 717 in the Ferrari, with Bakla Pospisil in 10th, the Czech driver in a Porsche for this season on 34 points. They head Daniel Grossman in 11th, Mr. Roversaker in 12th in car 77, the Ford Mustang, with Paul Vigler, quick but having had a few issues this season, in 13th, and Amasio D'Amica, and the returning Luke Prentice, who's returned as a pro, having earlier had a few issues in the season. So we're going to follow now. Let's see if we got anybody crossing the line now. I'll explain a bit about qualifying whilst the track is relatively empty, as I think it might be car 76 as the driver to follow. Now, car 76 is EJ Cameron for another lap. That's Trevor Mendes. So we're going to stick with Renat Serfontaine in car 215. So qualifying, one shot, which means that should you do more than your one allotted qualifying lap, the one time lap, you'll be starting from the pit lane. The airplanes have been very, very hot on this. Does mean that you have to stay on the track and be a little bit careful, but it's a real test of driver skill, because if you get it wrong, that's potentially your whole evening compromised, because obviously you'll be going through, if you're a quicker pro driver, for example, you will be going through the slower drivers and through the field, and that means that you'll be a little bit further back in class. Fabio Travaglioli just a 10th off of Jared Vermeulen, so that'll be the first two, you would think, settled. We're looking at Serfontaine now, which has been pretty solid lap from the Ferrari driver, the other South African in the field. He's currently 11th. Where's he going to go? And he goes 6th. So he's second in silver just behind Daniel Starkov in the Ferrari. It's a bit of Ferrari fest, isn't it, up top with Travaglioni and Vermeulen both in the lead. Very impressive, though, from Matthias Gonalons, one of the new joiners, one of the reserve drivers in the McLaren 98, and Trevor Mendes, car 76, both in AM class and both towards the sharp end. Excellent to see there. Now, we're going to see, I think it's car 51. Is he on an outlap? That's Matteo D'Amica in the Ferrari. He's just going through Cheetah Curve and into the final corner in way. So that will be, I think, to start a lap. Here's Matteo D'Amica going across the line now. And where does he go? Yep, he is going to start a lap. So we're going to see if we can track somebody who isn't starting a lap. So car 177, I think, has just crossed the line. That is Brooklyn Donkin, also on another lap. And car 334, that is the AM Championship leader, Alexander Kalugin, going through the final corner. Is this to set a time? Currently 23rd, but that doesn't mean an awful lot as he brings his car to the middle of the track. No, so he is also starting another lap. We've got, I think it's going to be car 77. That's Owen Harris, who is a former commentator, and we wish him well because he's only left the commentary box as a result of the birth of his daughter last week, I think, no, week before last. So we wish both he and his wife very, very well indeed. I'm sure I speak for the whole FRL family when I say that. The black and gold McLaren now going through the final corner, currently P22 at the moment. Where is this going to put him? It puts him 8th. He's third in class, 2.2 seconds off the pace, and he just edges out fellow AM driver Jordan Marshall by 2/10 of a second. Good lap from Owen Harris with James Thacker, JB Thacker in 9th, just across the line now in the Ferrari. So that is car number 7. Again, another Ferrari in the top 10 and 4th in AM. I think we're now going to get back for Renard Serfontein, car 717. That's Wouter Heijmans. He's going to cross the line now. And, well, he's 10 seconds off the pace. So I can only assume that the Dutchman hit strife on his lap time. We didn't see it going across the line. Is Marco Lino now in the 68 Ferrari? Here he goes to cross the line with those 6 minutes to go. Brings his car over to the left-hand side. So I think he's starting the lap. And, yes, he is. So the Italian now is not the next one to cross the line because that is car 177, which I think has set a lap time. But we'll see. No, he hasn't, because it's Brooklyn Donkin, who has just gone third. He's ousted Paul Vidler from third place, and he takes the lead of Silver. So that bumps down quite a few drivers. Car 334, that is Alexander Kalugin, who has just got into the pit lane. So I think that's his qualifying over. Here is Dale Kelleher, car 89. If we can pick him up a little bit earlier on. He's crossing the line now, which is bad news for myself because I can't see him, and I think that's his qualifying. So he's qualifying done. We're going to get some track action here because at the end of the day, we do not want to be seeing drivers in the pit lane. Here's Morgan Grace now onto the back straight through Barbecue, going into the Sunshine Curve. Bit of a tricky right-hander this. It falls away from you. You think that you're able to put the power on, and you just can't quite until you're facing straight. It's a really odd corner because when you think you can put it on, you can't. Now, as we've got car number 5, that is Josh Clayton, who has had a bit of a difficult start to the championship, but he has shown a lot of pace last week in the Aston Martin. He's another man to set a lap time, so we're going to go, I think, to car 68. Car 68 is back to being Marco Lino across the line. The Italian now just coming through the Crocodiles and into Cheetah Curve. Horrible corner for any driver. You don't want to hit the inside curve, and as soon as we go onto him, that's his lap invalidated, and the Italian retires to the pit lane. Here's Luke Richings, though, who's just gone through the same corner in the very striking purple and pink McLaren. Round the final corner at Ingve, keeps it to the right-hand side. He's going to want the line of least resistance. Luke Richings now in silver class. Where's this going to go? It's not going to go anywhere because he has not set a lap time just yet. But we have got car 94. Lee Colpitts now crossing the line. Is this going to be a lap? It isn't, because here again, it is going to be a lap. Actually, where is it gone? He's got 10th. It didn't show me. P10 for Lee Colpitts, very quickly becomes P12 as Morgan Grace sets a lap time to go third. And I think as well, I think we've had another driver who's got up a little bit higher. I couldn't quite see who it was. Might have been Renard Serfontein, who is currently in 9th, the South African, the Ferrari driver. Car 246 is Paul Trotman. He's now crossing the line. Where's the Lexus going to go? And he's currently 24th. He goes 15th. So in AM class, that is in 6th position for the Welshman. Paul Trotman in the Lexus doing a bit of damage there ahead of Felix Callagher and Davies and co. We're going to go now to car number 5. Car number 5 is Josh Clayton. Now we know he's setting a lap time because we saw him cross the line from his outlap. Now the Aston Martin keeps it to the right hand side, looks very good through the final corner, the Aston Martin, and Clayton goes from the back. Clayton goes 3rd. That gives me a bit of hope for Tuesday as being an Aston Martin driver myself, but that is 0.9 seconds off the grid and that edges out Morgan Gray. So the Aston Martin driver Josh Clayton can feel very happy with that lap time. Now we're going to go once again to Luke Richings. That is car 104. Who is currently 34th at the moment, but that means nothing because he hasn't yet set a lap time. We're expecting this to be solidly in the midfield. Looks smooth enough through there. He's going to bring the car to the right-hand side. And where is this going to go? And it goes 17th. Not bad from Luke Richings. Roughly, well, we expected him to be a little bit higher, but the standard of competition is such that that is a decent lap time indeed in the middle of the silver class. We've got now another couple of drivers who are coming through to start their lap time. One of them is Gordon Brown, which we will leave until later on. We're looking now for car 34 as I think the next driver to finish their lap, that's Posh Bashir. He'll be coming into the pit lane. He knows the rules. So it's car number 5 is the next one across the line, but he again has also set another lap time. That is Clayton, so that should be fine. So car number 69 I think is the next one to have not set a time, I think, and that is Johnny Sharp. Johnny Sharp back in after missing a couple of race weekends. The black and green Ferrari looking, well, it looks pretty handy through as he goes through the crocodiles. Really difficult braking area to get right. You think that you can brake a lot later than you can. Now we're going through Cheetah Curve. Don't hit the inside curve. The sleeping policeman will send you out wide, as we saw with Marco Lino before, into the final corner in Ingve. Get on the power as early as you can. You've got plenty to play with track limits. Brings the car to the right hand side, and this goes Johnny Sharp will go to 6th position, 2nd in silver, and he'll be rightly pleased with that lap time. Now, who have we got next? With only 1 minute to go, we've got car 98 next to us line, but here's set a lap time. So it's car number 19, Serafino Gabino in the Ferrari, the black and red Ferrari. He's going now through the Crocodiles complex here, just pulling his car to the left-hand side, attacks the curb, but not too much at Cheetah Curve now, pulls it over to the right-hand side, and where's he going to go? Car looks a little bit nervous, doesn't it, going through the final corner, but he's just going to pull himself to the right-hand side, gives the line of least resistance, and Gabino goes 16th in silver, so buries himself in the middle of the back with another Aston Martin. I think that's Anthony Eden, who's gone 5th place. Excellent lap from Anthony Eden. We've now got Adam Sharp now crossing the line. Is this the starter time or is this the finish one? We don't know. We're going to expect this to be quite high. Adam Sharp now crosses the line, goes 7th. Not the best lap time there from Adam Sharp, who has a bit of a reputation for underplaying his hand here. I don't think that's the case. 1.2 seconds off. He will be disappointed with that, I think. He's a quicker driver than that. So who have we got now going through that has not set a lap time? Well, plenty of drivers have fallen foul of track limits. I think Luke Prentice hasn't left the pits all session, has he? I know Gedman, Brown, Lino have left the track, or left the pits, sorry, this session. I don't think there's anybody else left to go. Alberto Aragonis is in the Mercedes, stuck in as another reserve. Very, very quick on Thursday nights, the Spaniard there, so we expect him to be coming through the field along with D'Amica and Prentice. But yeah, plenty of drivers who have not yet set a lap time. So I think with all of those numbers not corresponding, car 98, 99 and 76 are not down there. So I think, chaps and chapesses, we have our grid. So on pole, it's, as ever, really, it's Jared Vermeulen in the car number 1 Ferrari with Fabio Travaglioni in 2nd place, less than the 10th behind. Be interesting to see if any of them get swamped, because it's a wide run into the first corner, first braking zone really, because you've got the kink going into Crowthorne. Be interested to see if any of them get swamped, possibly not by Clayton's Aston Martin, but by Morgan Grace's Porsche, as Trevor Mendes, I think, might have earned himself a bit of a slapped wrist. What was a really good qualifying for the AM driver, I think he's just set another lap time because we had called him crossing the line. So unfortunately, Trevor Mendes, after an excellent qualifying, might just be because of a technicality on the rules, starting from 6th place. Aragonesis, meanwhile, has crossed the line and has gone 3rd. He was the driver that hadn't yet set the lap time. So I think we've got a bit of a misdemeanor there from Trevor Mendes, who would be starting 6th had he not already set a lap time previously. So the Brit there, who represents Mauritius on the Thursday night late night World Tour, I think maybe finding himself in a little bit of trouble there. So, as we were, Travaglioli is in 2nd position. They're just ahead of Alberto Aragonesis, who's shown prodigious race pace previously on Thursday night. It's Josh Layton in 4th, 0.9 seconds off of the pace, although that feels like a big gap. It's not, because the Aston Martin has been hamstrung here compared to the Ferrari. Morgan Grace starts in 5th position ahead of what I think will be Andrew Eden's Aston Martin. Excellent job from Andrew Eden. We haven't always seen that pace from him, but consistency the key for the Brit this season. 7th will be Brooklyn Donkin ahead of Adam Sharp. It won't show that until they all settle in, but for the start of the race, as we have ACC doing ACC things in terms of getting us set and ready to go, I'm just going to take a look now at the starting grid, I think, or no, the announcements, just to see if my hunch is right. We're going to take a look in the Discord now, and let's see what is going on if the phone ever does get there. So we're going to go for Discord, and we're going to see, I think, unfortunately for Trevor Mendes, who did set his second lap time, I suspect that there may be some strife there for the Brit. Yeah, just, he said now he's totally forgot, just put his first ever 41 in. Horrendous luck, but that is going to be a pit lane stop, not only for the first race, but unfortunately for the second race for Trevor Mendes. It is a bit of a tough rule, but rules are there to be followed, you would argue. And unfortunately, it's also the case for Matthias Godelons in 12th, who had set earlier a very good lap time. So there's going to be 2 drivers in the top 12 who miss out on their starting berths because of that regulation, as both drivers have been reprimanded in a friendly way, it must be said, by our admins, stewards and the rule makers against the rule breakers. So we're going to go through from Adam Sharp, who will be starting 9th as it shows, but will be, I think, lining up in 8th when this all goes through. So 3 minutes, and look at that, some moderate rain is coming. So I don't think that'll be enough to affect the drivers for this race, but it might be something for them to think about for the second race, you know, if that comes along, because whilst, okay, that'll be in a different session, that'll be in a different lobby, it does show that there is a possibility for that to be a factor. So 2.5 minutes to go before the racing gets underway. This is when the drivers, they'll be setting up their cars. It will be similar for a qualifying session for a 20-minute sprint race, because you're not going to be coming in and changing your tyres, which may well be a bit of a factor late or in the second race in terms of you will stop, but it will be a pit stop just largely to take fuel on board, a 1 litre fuel, just to get that out of the way, as that is the rules. No tyre changing mandatory in the 40-minute second race. But in the first race, you have to keep going. Whatever happens, you have to keep going. If you have a bad race, a bad start, you have to keep going, because you only qualify for the full reverse grid in race number 2 if you complete 75% of the race distance. In layman's terms, that's 15 minutes of a 20-minute race, and that means that the drivers can't just rage quit and get an advantage there. You have to get back out there and carry on as much as you possibly can. It means you might have to fight your way through, but it also means that there's something for you left to play for. Now, we mentioned earlier a rule change from Bathurst. Now, there was issues with Xbox users trying to get into the Bathurst session. So what the admins have done, as well as the issue in the second race regarding a complete disconnection, but what the admins have done is they've relaxed the rules regarding dropped scores. So now there are 2 dropped scores, which means if you have 2 bad rounds, they do not count towards your total. They do not count towards your points total, and that means that drivers are in the game, so to speak, if they had issues like last week, for example, or if there are further issues like, you know, you miss due to family reasons, then, you know, your 5 best results, 5 best weekends, if you like, 5 best to batch of races will count towards your championship total only. We've got now 20 seconds before the short burst to the start straight. Now, 29 drivers, it's Vermeulen versus Travaglioli, but it does widen. It does widen going into Crowthorne, and there's a couple of natural pinch points at turns 3 and 4 before you get to Barbecue at 5, and that could mean a lot of drama indeed. Vermeulen now leading the drivers away with Travaglioli on what will be outside. They're just ahead of Aragoneses, Clayton, Mendes, Eden, Donkin and Sharp in the top 8, as it will be with Johnny Sharp in 10th and in 9th and Paul Vidler in 10th. So drivers now leading all the way around the final corner. You've got the 5 red lights on there in the background, and we're waiting for the line as Vermeulen has the inside, and we're just waiting still for the grid to form up, and it's go, and there's already a drive-through penalty for car number 333. We'll find out who that is a little bit further down the line. Good start there for Aragoneses in the Mercedes. He splits the Ferraris going into the first real breaking point. Vermeulen has it at the moment. Travaglioli tries to hang it around the outside. He has done for the moment as Aragoneses settles into 3rd place. It's Morgan Grace in 4th, and I think it's Anthony Eden who's hit strife. As you know, he's not hit strife. He's a little bit further back, so he's had a poor start. I think Brooklyn Donkin has got up into 5th place, with Morgan Grace having gotten past Clayton in the Aston Martin, who's also fallen back. So we're going through the first sector now. Travaglioli still fighting with Vermeulen going into Sunshine Bend. Now, I think Vermeulen might just be able to rescue it just for the moment. Travaglioli now in 2nd place, just half a second clear of Aragoneses in 3rd. Grace up to 4th with Donkin, the big winner, certainly in silver, because he's 6 cars ahead of his next rival. It's Adam Sharp in 6th, having made up somewhat for his poor qualifying, ahead of Gonalons, who has ignored, I do believe, a request to start in the pit lane, so we can write his races off now, because I think he'll be disqualified. Clayton's dropped back to 8th as they go down the mine shaft for the first time, ahead of Andrew Eden and Paul Vidler. Not made much ground from 10th position. Johnny Sharp is now at 11th. He's fighting off. He's 2nd in silver, fighting off the advances of Daniel Starkov. A little bit of damage for Johnny Sharp as well, suggests that there's been some after you clawed in the first sector. Pospisil is in 13th place, a little bit further back there for the Czech driver. Somebody's gone off at Cheetah Curb. We'll see who that is if and when they have a further incident. So it's Vermeulen leading now by half a second clear of Travaglioli. Donkin's got the fastest lap in the Ford Mustang. It was a really good start from the silver driver. It's Vermeulen now leading by half a second from Travaglioli, but they've got Alberto Aragoneses in their clutches. Grace and Donkin are fighting away just at the moment as we wait for the cameras to catch themselves up. There's a little bit of issues here because Donkin, has he gone backwards a little bit? I don't think, yes he has. I think, yeah. So Brooklyn Donkin undoes some of his good work early on, and now it's Andrew Eden and Josh Clayton who have gone ahead of him. Adam Sharp now up into 5th position, so it's worked out okay for the Yorkshireman. Gonalons, I think, might have been involved because Gonalons, who will probably be disqualified, has dropped back to 10th position. He's just behind Paul Vidler. Paul Vidler now, is he? Yeah, he's just holding off at the moment. I think he'll be fine. The car number 10, who is he's got a bit of a gap to catch up, but I don't think that's a bad thing on lap number 2. So we're going to go through the field a little bit more. Leading the AM class, if we disregard Gonalons, is Jamie Thacker. Jamie Thacker in 15th, but he's holding off new dad Owen Harris in 16th, and they're just now fighting with, I think, Serafino Gabino in silver, fighting his way back through. Otherwise, it is AMS in 15th, 17th and 18th. That's likely to be the lead 3 for the upcoming race. So with Gonalons having gone, as they go side by side, that's Gabino now trying to take on Thacker. You don't want to go through the cheetah curves like that, and I think sent wins out as there's a car off in the background. I think that's Luke Richings. I think he's caught himself back up, but he's definitely lost time. Not a good start for the admin, with Kazakevich going down the inside. Daniel Kazakevich going down the inside and not making the move stick. Got Dale Kelleher in there as well in 22nd position. We've also got now a couple of drivers who've come to the pits as Herc and Hymans, who Hyman's unfortunately a bit of a magnet for trouble at this moment in time. Chris Getman is another man to have hit strife. He's back out in the race, having sustained damage earlier on. We've got Luke Prentice a little bit further back, has not made the progress that he would have hoped to have made coming through the field. He's only 31st now in the Lamborghini, in the black, green and red Lamborghini. We're going to go back to the front now because Travaglioli will not leave the home driver Vermeulen alone. Vermeulen now 2 laps in, only half a second clear. You can see these two starting to edge away from Aragoneses, but in particular Morgan Grace. Grace in the Porsche proving a bit of an obstacle for Adam Sharp here. Sharp's going to have to use a lot of craft going down the mine shaft here. Might be able to nail him on the brakes. The Porsche struggles a bit in low fuel conditions. Might be able to nail him on the brakes going into Crocodiles. Has a little look, does Adam Sharp. Not quite through. Although you can see he's gaining. Can he get any traction through the second part of the Crocodiles? Won't be able to pass him into Cheetah Curve here. You want to stay as far away from the curve as possible. And Sharp now follows fourth position at the moment. Going to look to see, you can't really get much traction on the Porsche down the straight, but it's a long enough straight that the Porsche might just max out. So we'll see now as I think that's Grace flashing his lights just a little bit. 2.5 seconds off the back of Aragoneses. He'll certainly be looking rearwards rather than forward. We're going to go back to the lead duo just for the moment. I promise you we are, even if ACC doesn't want to, because Travaglioli looks a lot closer, doesn't it? Even 0.7 of a second back. The Italian trying to get the job done on the South African. 1/4 of a second it is now as they go through the fast sweeping right-hander to end the first sector. Can't really do an awful lot into Sunshine Bend, the left-hander. Bit too awkward there to pass, although he is all over the South African in the Ferrari, Travaglioli, and I think Vermeulen is currently can't wait for a little bit of respite. 0.2 seconds it is. It's going to be a bit bigger. Can he launch it maybe into Neukoop, the left-hander at the top of the hill? Don't think he can. His run out of the S's wasn't good enough now. Two types of line really through there from the two Ferraris. That is Vermeulen going slightly wider, Travaglioli trying to take a tighter line. They're getting away from Aragoneses, so it's going to be between these two, you would think. Travaglioli, no funny business down the inside there, and I think it's another lap, so we'll follow this a little bit further round because you've got Cheetah Curve, which can catch out the unwary. Doesn't catch those two out, though, as they go into the final corner. Now, prioritising exit is going to be the way for Travaglioli to try and get past. He's 0.3 seconds behind at the moment. Crosses the line, and that is 0.4 of a second. I don't think he'll make it. The toe's not going to be quite big enough. But it's going to be all about trying to prioritise that exit, trying to get a couple of miles an hour off the exit. Because at the moment, Vermeulen's not being made to defend too much. Doesn't look the most comfortable, but Jared Vermeulen not being made to defend too much here by Travaglioli. He's more of an uncomfortable presence rather than, at the moment, immediate danger. Now, Aragoneses drops 1.9 seconds back. We've lost Adam Sharp somewhere. I think he's had a bit of strife trying to pass Morgan Grace because Brooklyn Donkin back up into 5th position in the Ford Mustang, with Sharp now having attention from Josh Clayton. A little bit of damage on the Aston Martin there suggests that he's been in combat with other drivers. Andrew Eason now still in 8th position, solid from the two Aston Martins, with Gonalons in 9th. I think he'll be we can discount him because he's not taken to the pits as he was told to do. He's got, though, Johnny Sharp and Paul Vidler. Paul Vidler not going as further forward as I expected. The Englishman's very quick, usually, even if he does tend to have a couple of oops moments in the races. He's certainly got the talent to be a bit higher up than P11. So the Ferrari want to watch now in the second half of the race. Gonalons there. The Ghost almost Gonalons there in 9th position, getting out of shape and holding up a couple of these Silver and Am drivers, which, you know, if he didn't think he was going to be disqualified, he's perfectly entitled to. Sharp looking down the inside now into Crocodiles. not going to make it there. The black and green Ferrari will have to wait for another lap. We've got now Clayton still on the back of Adam Sharp. Sharp has caught back up to Donkin, but the Mustang, even with it having been nerfed by the latest update, I think the Mustang is going to make it very, very difficult for the pro driver. 5th in class, 6th on the road, Adam Sharp. As we can see, as soon as I said about Paul Vidler being in 11th place, he's up to 10th. Although it's only Sharp that he's passed, so Johnny Sharp in the 69 Ferrari has relinquished. And as soon as we go on there, he's out of shape. Vidler now has to make sure he rejoins right, and he does rejoin well. And not only does he lose places on track, but he's lost a place there to Václav Pospišil. Pospišil in class now has gained another position, so he'll be 12th, with Vidler dropping to 13th from 10th, but that's equally, or that's more crucial, because he's now 10th in class with Pospišil 9th in class. That could be quite key for Vidler's race, because Pospišil in that Porsche with the traction, difficult man to pass. An excellent race driver is Václav Pospišil, even if his pace hasn't shown this season. As we go to two drivers who have had their pace shown, and that is Vermeulen and Travaglioli. Another 0.2 of a second apart. Travaglioli a little bit quicker in the first sector, with Vermeulen there gamely hanging on. We're not used to seeing this from Vermeulen. He's got a bit, usually he goes a bit Vettel in 2013, and then he gets out from the pole position, breaks away within a lap, and has it all under control. Certainly, he does not have it all under control now, because he's going defensive. He's had to weave to break the toe. Travaglioli now less than 0.3 behind. Is he going to do anything now? I don't think he'll do anything desperate with only 10 minutes to go. Might leave that for another 5 minutes down the line. And he's now content to sit behind the leader just for the moment. Rain in 10 minutes. I don't think that'll matter too much, to be honest. Drivers should be able to cope with that towards the end of the race, but it might just prove to be a bit of a spoiler. Argonases is in 3rd position in what is a return, I think, to the championship for the Spaniard in the Mercedes. 2.5 seconds off the pace. I think that he'll be well pleased with that, with Morgan Grace in 4th position in that Porsche. He's now got a bit of a buffer back to Donkin, who, it's fair to say, does not have a buffer, as he is only 0.3 clear of Adam Sharp, who is 5th in pro. Donkin does run a bit wide, not wide enough to cause any issues for Adam Sharp, with Adam Sharp still having to sit behind. He's got to face both forwards and backwards with Josh Clayton, a man who's decisive, but I wouldn't say he's reckless behind, so he's just got to think about that, Adam Sharp. Sharp now has a look out of the S's up the hill. Does he make a move? We don't know, because the camera didn't follow, but he doesn't, because he keeps it tight out of Neukauf, and now down the mine shaft we go. So expect the McLaren to maybe try and surprise Donkin, who, if he has sense, will be a little bit careful. Don't surrender, whatever you do, but he will be a bit careful. The Mustang there, trail brakes a bit, brakes on and off, and is still fighting with Adam Sharp. Sharp in 6th position there with Clayton in 7th. He's got a bit of a gap back, Clayton, so he'll be fine in terms of any battling behind. Eden's not going to cause him any issues, and there's a little bit of damage for Andrew Eden there, who's got a decent gap as well to Manuel. Pretty certain will be disqualified. That is the task on Alonso, which is such a shame, because it's been an excellent drive, apart from following the rules. Johnny Sharp is currently in 10th now, and he's got Daniel Starkov behind him, so that is 2nd in class being disputed in silver, with Pospišil now a further second back, and Vidler in 13th, 2.5 seconds back. He's got Serpentine for company, and this is a really impressive drive from Owen Harris. Harris has had a lot of upheaval, good upheaval it must be said, in his personal life, who is now leading the AM class. If we think that Gonalons is going to go the way that I think he is, that is leading the AM class, and not just leading it, he's botting it, isn't he? Because he's got Lee Colpitts in silver behind him. I think Harris playing the percentages there and letting Colpitts through. Colpitts, unstated Brit, consistent, but doesn't certainly do anything silly. But Harris there not doing anything silly and letting the silver driver through, because he's AM. Doesn't matter whether they go through, because it's not for position in class. It's not going to affect this championship. Owen Harris there driving really, really well. He's 4.5 seconds clear of Gordon Brown's Lamborghini. Gordon Brown in Pro, who had some issues in qualifying, so this is somewhat of a recovery. Luke Richings in 18th now in silver. Matteo D'Amica in 19th. Another man in Pro who had problems on his qualifying lap. Marcolino in 20th in silver, so that is, I think, thereabouts 7th position in class, and 20th Marcolino ahead of Darren Mark Davies. Another man who's having a really good race. He's second by my money in the AM class in 21st position. Doesn't really tell the tale. He's got 2 seconds on Kazakevich, with championship leader in AM, Alexander Kalugin, in 23rd, so third in the class behind Kazakevich, another immediate threat from the Pro Reserve now. That is Luke Prentice, 24th for the Britons, normally quite quick at that Lamborghini, so I suspect there may be either some underlying issues or just unable to get through. Marshall currently fighting with, is that Dale Kelleher? No, it isn't. Marshall, I think Dale Kelleher might have had some issues because that is Wouter Heimans, who is a lap down, obviously. So Marshall in 4th position in AM in 25th, has a decent gap now, so that is Danny Felix, with Dale Kelleher in 5th position to have a little bit of trouble. And there's Mendes, who did comply with the order to start on the pit lane, now coming through. So good driving from Trevor Mendes, who has made his way at least back up into the field. Gabino and Thacker further back, with Paul Trotman, who had such a good qualifying, a little bit further back up and had some issues in at the start of the race. You've got Chris Gebben and Wouter Heimans, who are completing laps, enough laps for them to be at the start. So Wouter Heimans, I think we can bookmark him for a strong race in race number 2. We're going to go back to the lead, and that, with 5 minutes to go, is Vermeulen. Now, Travaglioli has hit strife, hasn't he? Because he's 2 seconds back from Vermeulen. Vermeulen seems to be inevitable, doesn't he? Especially in race 1. If he can get race 2 licked, or who am I to tell him, but if he can get race 2 sorted, then I think he could be just a decent driver, couldn't he? Travaglioli 2.7 seconds now back, and I think that is challenge over with what would be 3 or 4 laps to go. It's a 1 minute 40 lap time, isn't it? So I would suggest that is going to be 3 laps to go. Vermeulen now just coming out of barbecue down the back straight, and I think that is going to be race done if he doesn't make any mistakes. Aragonés says, meanwhile, well, he fancies a run at second, doesn't he? Travaglioli is just a second up the road, and Aragonés says, another man not to do anything silly despite his pace, is currently 3rd position. Got a decent gap now to Morgan Grace, who himself has a real buffer back to Brooklyn Donkin. Brooklyn Donkin in silver. Excellent drive from Brooklyn Donkin, who does not have to get out of the way of either Sharp or Clayton. He's holding them off well, isn't he? It's certainly a good audition if he does want to move to Pro next season, which is a bit of a daunting task, isn't it? But I think he's giving as good as getting here now through the S's. The Mustang, not necessarily the strongest car through there, but he manages it well. You've got Sharp now less than half a second, I would imagine, behind, because that does not look like 6 tenths per second. Going into Neukauf, and they can't quite make the move there. So a little bit of damage on Sharp's car. I don't think that'll be affecting him too much, but he's just stuck behind that Mustang, isn't he? Donkin going absolutely nowhere, with Clayton now bottled up behind the two of them, and add Andrew Eden now in 8th position, 7th in class. Quite safe, isn't he, both ways? Gonalons, we think, probably out of the race for his misdemeanor earlier. Wide goes Clayton at Sheeter, not wide enough to cause himself any issues, but wide enough to stop him having a run at Adam Sharp in front. As we see now, speaking of having a run, that is Alberto Aragonés going through turn 3, natural pinch point as we saw earlier on. Now, he's 3/4 of a second behind Travaglioli. And Travaglioli now very much looking rearwards rather than frontwards. Earlier, the eyes on the prize was for Vermeulen's first place. Now he's got it all to do to fight gamely for second. Well, that's a decent first sector for Aragonés, for Travaglioli. He's now upped it to about a second, with Grace having dropped off now by 8 seconds. These three really are the class of the field, aren't they? You know, separated by 4 seconds after nearly 20 minutes of racing, and it's these three that really are pushing the boundaries, aren't they, in Simnet Sunday Sprint. With 2 minutes to go, I think we're now just 1 and a bit laps away from finishing the race. There's a couple of drivers who are in the pit lane. I think one of them is Paul Trotman, who's done enough now, he thinks, to get himself qualified for the reverse grid race. Walter Hyman's in 33rd, is towards the back in pro. I think the next pro driver is up in 22nd. That's Luke Prentice, still having a bit of trouble getting past the man drivers. Darren Mark Davis more than holding his own. The commentary goes as we saw there. We cut away from Aragones going wide. That's all it was in the end, was Aragones running slightly wide at Cheetah Curve. That catches out the unwary, but it doesn't cost him too much. 3 seconds, the gap as Vermeulen starts his last lap. And a further 3 seconds back now is Aragones with Brace there. Well, he might gain. He has gained 6.5 seconds back now for the Welshman, who I don't think will mind too much. With Donkin now still fighting with Adam Sharp. Adam Sharp is in the pits. Adam Sharp has ended up in the pit lane. We didn't see what happened there. We'll find out from the auctionman what's gone on there. But he's gone in with, I think, Josh Clayton. Josh Clayton just crossing the line now. Those two were together. I wonder if there's been some issues further around the lap. I hope I didn't put the mockers on that, with Eden now in 6th position, having gained massively from that. And Jimmy Sharp in 8th place now, or 7th as it will be, 8th on the road behind Gonalons. He's now got a slight, more of a sense of the lead of the silver class, so I don't think it's going to happen. He's 6 seconds off the back as rain finally arrives. Heavy rain too. It's not going to matter because we're 20 seconds from the end, and that, it seems like a good time to head to the lead driver making his way down the mine shaft into Crocodiles. Now, heavy on the brakes, doesn't need to anything. He's got 3 seconds on Travaglioni, so got to be careful through the Cheetah Curve. Misses the sleeping policeman on the inside, strokes it round the corner, and nothing silly going into the final corner at Ingve. And Jared Vermeulen back to winning ways in South Africa. His home race, he wins the first of two, the 20-minute sprint. And Vermeulen there reasserts his dominance at the top of the table with that victory, with Fabio Travaglioni coming in second ahead of Aragones in third on his return to the championship. Morgan Grace is going to be fourth ahead of Brooklyn Donkin, who is going to be fifth, but also wins the silver class race. So excellent drive from Brooklyn Donkin, the class of the silver field, with Andrew Eden in sixth, ahead of Gonalons, seventh on the road, but I don't think he'll keep that, with Jimmy Sharp in eighth, ahead of Václav Pospisil in ninth, Daniel Starkov third in the silver class in 10th place in that Ferrari, ahead of Paul Vidler and Josh Clayton. We didn't see what happened there, with Renard Serpentine in 13th, ahead of Lee Colbitts. And my winner of the AM class, Owen Harris. It's been a couple of excellent weeks for the Englishman, the former commentator. We wish both he and his wife well in their birth of their child, and we wish them all congratulations there, with Matteo D'Amica in 16th for silver, making his way back through the field, Gordon Brown in 17th, Luke Richings in 18th, Marco Lino in 19th. And Luke Prentice did get past Darren Mark Davies, who also lost out to be third in class to Alexander Kalugin, so second in the championship for Alexander Kalugin, which represents, or second in class, or which represents a good return to form after a difficult qualifying session. It's Kasakiewicz in 23rd, ahead of Jordan Marshall, fourth in class, with Serafino Cabino in 25th. Danny Felix in 26th, ahead of Trevor Mendes, who had to recover from that pit lane start. We wonder where that could have been, because he was so far up in the AM class with either of his laps that he should have been a bit higher up. Jamie Thacker in 28th, who faded from the lead early on in AM class, ahead of Dale Kelleher. Chris Gedman recovers from a poor first lap to finish 30th, so we suspect that he'll be going well in the race. Adam Sharp, the only consolation I can give is that whilst he did not complete all of the laps, he will be starting towards the sharp end without Hyman's after both drivers hit problems. Paul Trotman is 33rd, and then Marvin Hook, who is 9 laps down, will not be starting at the sharp end. So Paul Trotman, I think we can say, is qualified on pole position for that, as the admins now will reset the server. We will leave. No replays at the moment because of the fact that I haven't put together that class, and Greg is already a much more talented person than I am, so you're just going to have to listen to me whitter on for a little bit longer. So, talking points from that, well, Vermeulen, it's fair to say that Vermeulen and Travaglioni were the class of the field ahead of Aragones. He brought it home in third position with Morgan Grace there. A game fourth, really. It was an excellent drive from the Welshman, normally one to have in a battle. As I think, we have the session ending now, so I think that they'll be resetting that. A couple of decent drives. I think a standout drive for Brooklyn Donkin in the 177 Ford Mustang. He has won the silver class. He will be starting quite far back. That might be a bit of a blessing if he decides to let some of the quicker pro drivers go through. That might be a little bit of a blessing. With another shout out for Owen Harris, who's in 15th place. Doesn't sound that impressive to begin with, but in the AM class, excellent drive from Owen Harris there, and for a 40-minute race that's coming up, that will stand him a good stead. He'll still be in the mid-pack, so if he's feeling particularly racy, he'll be able to come through the field. We'll take a quick couple of minutes and we'll be back very shortly for the setup of the second race, the 40-minute feature race, if you like, fully reverse grid, and we will see you there very shortly. So I think that is the server reset now, as has been announced by one of the admins. So they'll be resetting they'll be using on SimGrid. I think it's G Portal that they go on. It's a lot cleverer than I care to remember, to be honest with you, where the drivers will have a fully reverse grid with a couple of exceptions, which I think are predetermined in the setting. So bad news there for Herc in the BMW. But apart from that, I think Trotman, Sharp, and Hyman's will be towards the sharp end of that restart. So certainly three capable drivers. Trotman certainly has an pole position, whereas two pros in Hyman's and Sharp, Adam Sharp, who have been showing decent pace, I think will be in the reckoning there for pole position. I think there was a couple of bits of contact between him and Josh Clayson from what I could see in the chat at the chicane. So that's the S's, I think it is. So bit of a tough break. That's if you're going to race cars, you're going to crash cars. We'll certainly hear from both of those, no doubt, in the chat as to what's happened there. And just getting a couple of the tales of the tape for the race. Johnny Sharp stuck behind Godalons, who was indeed supposed to start from the pit lane, so will face a further punishment there. Owen Harris is, well, fairly pleased with his class win as it will be. They're in 15th place, just in the chat, with Dale Kelleher losing out to Danny Felix by going off the circuit, around the back of the circuit there. What was actually a really impressive run from Dale Kelleher. Still a decent run, to be fair. He's been struggling in pro just a little bit, but that was a bit more, or struggling in the season, but that was a bit more like it there from the Ferrari driver, who has not had the luck that you would hope he's had. So we're just going to wait now for this to reset. With at the moment there, this gives me a bit of time, actually, a bit of a reminder to plug some of our other series. So we're going to start with Simnet. So we must thank our sponsors, Simnet, who provide all sorts of racing and sim racing gear, all compatible with any device that you're on, be it PC, be it Xbox, be it PlayStation. I'm going to thank them for sponsoring this championship, because without sponsors and without patrons, it wouldn't be possible. We're now going to go on to our patrons. We've got a Patreon server, which is £4 per month. Now, you think what £4 buys you? It buys you an overpriced coffee from a couple of well-known coffee chains. I won't be naming them here, but £4 a month helps pay for things like commentary, helps pay for benefits such as your own graphic designed by Chris Gebman, a very talented man on that regard. Certainly put together a couple for drivers in this server. Not only that, you get your choice of number. If you're one of the drivers who wants to contribute and feels that they can contribute to the championship, you get a choice of number for £4 a month. It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. It's less than one of those overpriced coffees that you get in service stations. I think that's a pretty good value. We've got a couple of championships coming up, including a new one tomorrow, a new season of the FRL WRC. Sign-ups, I believe, are still open, but the WRC game has really taken off on Formula Racing League, and we're excited to see that back. You can see there the Sacco Tuesdays. That's the flagship championship of Formula Racing League, the one where I think there's now 2 tiers, nearly 40 drivers. So certainly, if you are short for something to do on a Tuesday night, then why not join? Because in terms, it's sim racing at its very best. You're always going to get battles. You're always going to get really good quality fights. I think it's certainly well worth joining. To go with that as well, there's more games in the pipeline coming up. I think there's LMU Le Mans Ultimate on PC. That's on Friday nights, which I know a lot of drivers are starting to migrate to. We hope to see LMU on console some point in the near future as well. The potential of an upcoming NASCAR Championship, when that game releases at the end of October. We're expecting that to be very popular as well, with Chris Gedman again at the centre of that. The man is so busy when it comes to the Formula Racing League. He certainly is Mr. FRL. And last but not least, I mentioned the Thursday night, late night championship. The World Tour is coming to an end now. We will have hopefully some commentary for the final race on Thursday week. That is at Spa-Francorchamps, with Bathurst coming up next Thursday. So stay tuned for that, because Bathurst, as we saw last week, a real test of man and machine. We're just waiting now for the server to reset. There are 5 servers available. That means only one thing, that the Simnet Super Sprint Sunday, with currently an FP1 session of 60 minutes, I think that might be. That one might change, but let's go in anyway and let's just see if there's anything there. So a little bit of rain there as well is forecast. I don't think it's going to be a whole hour. As entertaining as it would be, I'm sure, to follow all drivers around the laps and around their practice sessions and around the setups. I don't think we're going to be quite getting this, but we can see some drivers now coming in anyway, as I think there will be another announcement of a server reset coming shortly. We'll wait for that to happen before we return. I'll see you very soon.